Well, number 2 is the oldest show on the list, and it is Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I'm on my 4th or 5th watch of this series. Pure and utter hype that made me watch this show. This thing exploded. I think, again, it was BBC Two. I don't know why I think that, but it was certainly early BBC. And it was a hit in America because it was a big whodunit, and there was a sort of like a crazy cast and a slightly strange storyline, full of mystery and full of intrigue. America just got totally and utterly gripped. I think probably beyond the point of fanaticism. And I remember watching it when it was out over here and not fully kind of grasping and comprehending a lot of it. Only in probably my 2nd or 3rd watch did I sort of get a lot of the plots and storylines that David Lynch was trying to put out there.
It was, Gary, BBC Two, you were right, in 90 and 91.
That's it, yeah. It is a show with a legend. In other words, there is more behind it than what you see. Conspiracy theory nuts, and all the sorts of things that come out. People have their theories. There was, again, series of spin-offs. There was a very bad, strange movie called Fire Walk With Me, and then there were sort of other documentaries and shows about it. There is a new series coming out next year. Now, is it HBO or Showtime? I think it's Showtime, isn't it?
Showtime. So where was Gary?
I just said
91.
91. I probably just finished GCSEs. I was not a popular kid at school, but I wasn't a bullied kid. I was kind of the geek.
No.
So I was very much into comic books, sci-fi, but I was also into sports and stuff like that. So I kind of flitted around all the different groups.
It's
in
weird
school,
how you weren't bullied then, but you're bullied now on almost weekly basis.
So, yeah,
on a Thursday.
If I ever meet you, you're in for it, sunshine.
That was a threat. And I'm gonna record it.
And a sort of
This was very much a recommendation by my uncle. He and I certainly would consider this a show that he and I bonded over because we both loved it. We both watched it. We both watched it together. His original idea for a podcast that we first had when we first started talking about it was to rewatch Twin Peaks and do a podcast on it. There is this kind of fad now of rewatching old shows and talking about it, and there's an interest in that.
When you watch it now, do you think you watch it with a fondness of the time when you watched it the first? You know what I mean? When you watch something, you remember back.
I think I watch it more with the nostalgia of, I know what's coming. Oh, this is so good. It was such a weird show to put in a genre because, in the first few episodes, it was about a young girl who had been murdered in a small northeastern American town. And it was a murder mystery. But then you started to get this really weird elements. And in one episode, a little man spoke in a red room backwards.
I got good news. That the mule wife is dying too, but doesn't she look almost exactly sweet wash for hunger?
This is an uncategorizable show sometimes. I mean, you could even say The X-Files is very influenced by Twin Peaks. But I think as well, the other thing that David Lynch did and Robert Frost, the other creator, did so well... Sorry, Mark Frost, my apologies. They took this idea of small-town America. And I think, again, America is fascinated by the fact that in America is such a vast country. Between the two coasts, in the middle of the country, you've got thousands of these small little communities that are perceived as weird on the outside, and then this one does actually appear weird.
If somebody's listening to this now and they've heard you talk about Twin Peaks and your love for it before, and they think it's the sort of show they would enjoy, even though we're going back to 1990, you would say it's still...
Yeah,
obviously it's going to look like it's 1990, obviously, it can't help that, but in terms of its the way it's done and the story, you think there's still some...
Oh, absolutely. I think of the shows that I've mentioned, it's the most timeless, even against number one. And that will become apparent when I talk about it. Even though, yes, the show is set in that period, it never dates. There's not an over-reliance on early mobile phones or anything like that would date it, which you do get in the X-Files when they pull out this huge laptop and put it down and go, right.
Well, that's what spawned the first couple of series of 24 when they're all obsessed with their Palm Pilots, and I didn't even remember what one of those was.
Exactly. I think one of the very first episodes of the 24, he gets a picture sent through to his phone, and it takes like 20 minutes to download. And I remember thinking that, gosh, what a different time we live in,
I know. I don't know whether 24 will be on Matt's list, because I think he's the only one of us who's watched it all, but it'd be interesting.
Yeah, I've not watched.
Retrospectively, through television, people talk about 24 as a show, and you'd think it would be on one of our lists.
I think the reason I didn't put 24 is because the later series did really let me down, and I didn't continue past Series 6.
How do you feel about the new Twin Peaks, though?
I'm worried.
As a fan, you must be intrigued, but worried as well.
I'm excited and worried. There's a lot of old cast members coming back, which is good. And
they will be old.
And then we've heard from David Lynch that he is going to create new characters and new storylines. He's going to put things into the show that got taken out by the network in the first series because it was on ABC, wasn't it? They did have a lot of problems getting things through the censors. So he says he will include things which he now doesn't have that restriction because it's on Showtime. So yeah, I think it will be intriguing. But yeah, I'm worried how it will not tarnish, but how it will make people think about Twin Peaks in general.